Hello friends, welcome to Java2D tutorial. In this video, we are going to see how to define our own stroke pattern. So first we learned about the basics of shape outline and what is the role of basic stroke instance and stroke method of the graphics object. Then we looked at the code that defines pen thickness. Now we will talk about line pattern. So to define line pattern, we defined 4 more members in our JPanel class. So these members define dash as well as a gap. So you can define a number of dash and a number of gaps, but here we took 2 dash and 2 gap pattern. So we have getter method for all these members. There is no set method. That means the JPanel class will have the getter methods, and these members are read-only members. So user will assign these members through the user interface element, and outside the world user can, the other class can make use of these members, but they cannot assign, but they can read the value, the outside world classes. Next, if you see, there is one more set button on the JPanel, right? We handle the click event using the add action listener method, and inside the action performed method we read all the 4 text and construct the float instance, then make use of parse float method. So here if you see, we take the user entered value and we give that to the parse float method of the float class. So parse float is a static method, and we provide the input fed in by the user to this parse float. So we get 2 dashes and 2 gap entered by the user. This defines the line pattern. Line, or we can even call it as a stroke pattern. So after defining these members, we make a call to repaint, and we know that this will end up in the paint method call or paint method override. So paint method of JFrame will get called. That means we will need to add new piece of code in JFrame's paint method to make use of these 4 members. So we already defined our paint method to check how the line thickness is working. So this is the piece of code which we added in the previous video. This is just to check how the line thickness was working. So using this previously defined paint method, we checked how the line thickness worked. We set the stroke by providing the basic stroke instance. We drawn the rectangle. So this is the first rect which used a pen thickness. Right. Next, if you see here, we are creating an array of float instance. So this array of float will define our line pattern, and each array member we initialize it with dash gap dash gap. So This is fed in by the user, right, based on the 4 text boxes. And when set method is, when user clicks the set button, these members will get populated. This dash gap, dash 2, gap 2, all will get populated based on the user entered value. So once again, we use BasicStroke. Previously we used BasicStroke, and here also we are using BasicStroke. This time we are using the overloaded constructor. Previously we passed only the stroke width. So this stroke, BasicStroke, defines a pen thickness. But here, if you see, we still use thickness. Then we are passing a member cap but. This is a constant. Here, as a second parameter, we are passing a constant cap but. This tells how the stroke line edges will appear. After that, the join type, we are taking it as a join meter. We will see that soon. Then we have passed 5.0. We will explore this when we add the code. After that, we defined our stroke pattern. Finally, we pass 0. We will explore these two members when we add the code. And what is important is this dash, this array, whatever we are passing. This is what defines the line stroke or line pattern. So this one is offset. We will explore only this one when we go to the code. Alright, BasicStroke is defined here. And if you want to look at this dash pattern, okay, I will come to that later. First, let us look at the cap but. So here you are seeing cap underscore but. So when we define line pattern like this, cap but means if we say dash 1 as for example 2 centimeter, it will be towards this edge. And when we say cap square, it will be like this. And this is cap round. Here you can see a curved round, right? So that's what defines the constant cap but, cap square, and cap round. Here if you see, we are using the cap but. That means this is the style we are using here. Next, join meter. This tells what happens when 2 dash dot meets. Say for example, you are defining a line style as a dashed line style, and you are drawing line like this. Second line is perpendicular to previous one. Here I'm just taking this as an example, and if you see, this is the portion we are making the join, right? So how this join looks, that's what defined by the BasicStroke and the join style. Bevel means, if you see here, the surface is flattened when 2 lines are joining or when 2 are intersecting. Meter means you will see a sharp edge, and round you will see a curvature here. So let's talk about dashes also. And for example, let us talk about dashes also. For now, we will assume that dash 1 is defined as 2 unit, gap 1 is 0.5, dash 2 is 0 unit, and gap 2 also 0. Now if you draw whatever shape you want, the shape can be anything. It can be a circle, rectangle, or line. Let's for simplicity reason, let's assume a user is drawing a line, and dash is 2, gap is 1. That means pen down is 2, pen up 0.5, pen down 2, pen up. So that's what it defined here, dash 1, 2, gap 1, 0.5, dash 2 nothing, so it will be here only, gap 2 also nothing, it will be here only. Then the pattern will be repeated, dash 1, 2, gap 1, 0.5, dash 2, gap 2 is empty, so it will be here. Then the pattern will be repeated, dash 1, 2, dash 1, 2, and gap. And if you see here, the pattern is defined like this. Right, 2.5. So when we send it as an array, we have 4-slot array, right? We have 4-slot array, right? The first one performs pen down, pen up, pen down, pen up. When pen is down, something is drawn. When pen is up, nothing is drawn. So here we defined only 2 and 0.5, which defined a pattern. So the pattern is like this. Now let's consider one more example. Dash 1 is 5 centimeter, gap 1, 2 unit. Instead of centimeter, we can say it as unit. Then dash 2, 1 unit, gap 2, or instead of 2, for simplicity reason, we will have it as 5, and gap 2 also 5. So this time, if you see, the array is like this. So pen down, pen up, down, up. So what happens? Pen down 5 unit, gap is 5 unit, down 1 unit, 5 unit gap. So that's all. So here one pattern ends, right? 5 unit, pen down, 5 unit, pen up, nothing will be drawn. For 1 unit, pen down. For 5 unit, there is no pen down, that means pen up. So when the pattern repeats, it will repeat like this. You see, here we defined a dashed line, here we defined a dash dot line. Is it possible to define something like this? Yes. So in that case, you have to increase this slats, array of slats. So it's up to you to decide how your pattern should look. Here if you see, the repetition comes after this. That means you need 3 pen down and 3 pen up. That means 3 up and 3 gap, or 3 dash 3 gap, right? And here the dashes are same. You can even define it as a dot by reducing the dimension or unit. So this is how one can construct the dash dot or dashed outline. And these numbers also useful when 2 lines are joining. And this one defines the cap, but, and square, all those stuff, how this end should look. So when you increase the pen thickness, you can visualize this usage. Alright, now we will go to the demo. That means before that, if you see, after defining the dash dot line using the BasicStroke instance, once again we are setting the stroke. In the paint method, we made call to set stroke 2 times. This is the first time, and here we did set stroke for the second time. And this is rect 1 and this one is rect 2. So first rectangle is drawn to explore how thickness works, and the second rectangle is drawn because this is new stroke object, right? So we named it as a dashed stroke. First we set a solid stroke or stroke. Here we set a dashed stroke and we drawn the second rectangle. So second rectangle will be drawn based on the dashed stroke that you define using the 4 member in the panel. That means dash 1, gap 1, dash 2, gap 2. Based on this member, second outline will be drawn. Now we will go to the Eclipse and continue with our demo. Now we will move to our canvas. Here we already defined some members, right? We have getter and setter for that as well. Now we will define second set of members. So we are defining 2 dash and 2 gap. And here is the getter and setter for the, we can say just a getters. So we have getter for dash 1, dash 2, as well as a getter for gap 1, gap 2. Alright, now we will go to the design view and handle our second set methods action performed handler. And inside this handler, we read the text input. So dash first, dash second, gap first, gap second. Once you click set, internal members will be set. After setting these members, we make a call to repaint of the frame window. So frame windows paint method will get called, and here we are already drawing a rectangle, and now we will write a code to draw the second rectangle with a new stroke instance. Okay, so this is the paint method of our frame window, right? Now we will make use of our second set of controls. So first we created an array, then we read our dash and dot, or we can say 2 dash and 2 gap. After that we define basic stroke. We set our second stroke and we draw our second rectangle. All these stuffs were already explained in the PowerPoint slide. Now we will directly run and explore it. So you may already seeing a pattern here. Just let us increase the stroke width so that we can see it clearly. And remember, the same stroke width is used by both the stroke instance. Here we construct the basic stroke with only the pen thickness. Here in the second we use a pen thickness as well as we make use of our dashes. So here I'm making call to set. This will set both. Now we will define dash. Dash I am defining it as 5. Gap here I'm giving it as 5. These are all 0 and 0. Let's see how it works. You can see there is a pen down for 5 unit, then pen up for 5 unit, and then pattern repeats. Let's say we will increase the gap to 2 times. You see the difference? Now let me reduce it to 3 and increase the first dash to 10. That means pen down is given 10 unit and the gap will be reduced. You see? So far you just saw how the first dash and the gap is working. Now we'll put a equal gap, and second dash we will reduce it to 1, and second gap we will still give it as 10. So now if you see, second dash, instead of 10 unit, it will make use of only 1 unit. You will be seeing a small line. It may almost look like a point, then a same gap. If you see, here you just defined a dash dot. So our array uses only 4 slat. If you use or if you introduce 2 more slat, then you can define further pattern here. Here we are using a dash dot, right? If you want to define dash dot dot or dash dash dot or dot dot dash. So it's simply a concept of a pen down and pen up, and how many array of slat you want to define, then how you want to repeat. Here in this case the array slat of 4 is used and pattern is repeated. So this way you can define your line pattern, and after that you can use it for the drawing outline. So these dash dot or dashed outlines are useful when you are selecting the object, right? Alright, so the need may differ, but this is how you draw a outline for your shapes. That's all here in this video. Thank you for watching. Bye.